Good morning to everyone in Europe and good afternoon to everyone in China. This is Bonamizan from the EU SME Centre, and I'd like to welcome you again to our EU SME Centre webinar series. This week we'll explore a very exciting topic that I'll introduce in a few minutes. But before doing that, I'd like to again introduce very briefly who we are for those of you that don't know us. Just to make you a little bit familiar to the webinar panel, don't forget that the webinar panel is quite extensive, and you've got a number of functions, one of which is the questions panel. Throughout the webinar you can just raise any question you would have, and we'll try to answer as many questions as we can during the webinar, and if we can't address them today, we'll just make sure that we follow up with you individually. And of course, I'd like to also remind you of the function we have on the website, the Ask the Expert function, and I'd like to invite you to make extensive use of that function. So the EU SME Centre, as a short reminder, is an initiative from the European Union to support European SMEs in their expansion to the Chinese market, whether through exports or more extensive investments, and we do that through a number of different services as well as free and confidential information and advice. We do that in 4 different areas: on business development, legal, standards and conformity assessment, as well as HR issues. And we do that through the inquiry system I mentioned, but also an exhaustive list of publications, including reports, guidelines, and sectorial case studies, as well as a number of business tools, including trainings, this series on webinars, as well as a number of databases which you can access through our website, amongst other services. From the trainings we have quite a number of trainings planned for the upcoming weeks and months. We have actually a number of roadshows going through to Europe for the moment, and I'd like to invite you to keep tuned on those ones. And on this slide that you can see now, we are also setting up quite flagship event on the 2013 Asia EU matchmaking event in Beijing at the end of May, as well as European Pavilion at the Clean Energy Expo in China 2013 in the first week of July. You've got the contact details there if you're interested in those particular events, but also if you're not yet, just make sure you register on the website and to our mailing list so that you get access to all the information as it comes, as we have quite a lot of exciting events coming up. As I mentioned, we also have this webinar series which is extremely successful, and this week we're touching on a topic which we've touched on more on a sectorial level, but we'd like to try to cover it on trying to get the bigger picture about how to shape the right marketing mix in China. And for this we have our speaker Manuel Sánchez Monasterio, which has been helping us to putting this together, and which will actually share his experience on the Chinese market with us today. So Manu, with this I'd like to pass on the floor to you for your introduction, and if you could also start just giving a little bit of an introduction to your own profile.
Hello, Benoit. I'm very glad to, and in this case, I will be very glad to show you my experience for more than 10 years living and working in China, in Beijing, Shanghai, Guangzhou, in the whole country. Basically working as marketing to China professor at ESADE Business School, Universidad Autónoma Barcelona, Barcelona University, and also at Beijing University as marketing to China teacher. Professor working also as president of the China Marketing Center of the Barcelona Marketing Club, and at the same time, ESADE China team founder and ESADE China Europe Executive Committee member, member of the China-Spain Economic Forum, partner of Howlett China in the Beijing office, and as I mentioned, been here working and living in China for more than 10 years, being my priority and my specialty marketing China. So I'm very honored, I'm very glad to stay with you, Benoit, and with the whole European Union SMEs community this evening. Thank you very much.
A very extensive profile, Manu, so I'm sure you've got quite a bit of experience to share with us today. So without further ado, I'd like to let you to go through with your presentation.
Brilliant, brilliant. So in this case, what I would like to talk is about top 8 marketing to China trends. Talking about the first one that obviously we will develop during the presentation will be let's be local, first one. Second one, win face through the European brand names. Third one, multi-channel marketing strategy. Fourth one, mobile permission marketing. Fifth one, China from China. Sixth one, branding Chinese name. We'll talk about that. Seventh one, minimax psychological prices in China. And the 8th and the last one, China's customer growing experience. So, going to the first one, which is let's be local. In this case, we would like to show you the successful example of Natura Vicent, which is a super luxury Barcelona cosmetic brand names that basically has the opportunity in the Asian culture, especially in China, with white skin equals to elegance and beauty. That's basically the opportunity. Talking about the marketing decision in order to convert in results and convert on a very successful business result, that opportunity, Natura Vicent Barcelona has selected its premium whitening cosmetics, especially for the Chinese upper class woman. Obviously, that is the sequence: opportunity, marketing decision, and result. When we talk about result, we talk about successfully position it in China in hotels and luxury spas. Basically, in Hong Kong, Taiwan, and now starting also successfully in Shenzhen. Face cleaning. Here you have a very clear image about how important it is for Chinese middle high class people the whitening face image. That's why we talk in this slide about culture difference. There is no such thing as a nice tan in China. Quite the opposite. Chinese using whitening creams and lotions. It makes no sense to market yourself on the basis of concepts such as the Barcelona sun and beach paradise to the Chinese tourist target. That is Benoit, the first example. The second one, follow-ups, no? And send us to a Mataromera group, which is considered probably the number one winery in Ribera del Duero, Spanish origin denomination. The opportunity in this case talk about religious groups, young managers, pregnant women, athletes, and other social groups who appreciate the taste of European wine but are not willing to drink alcohol. The marketing decision is, in this case, addressing those customers, categories, Mataromera, that Mataromera offers, a high quality and affordable Spanish alcohol-free wine from the prestigious Ribera del Duero origin denomination. The result, in this case, is Grupo Mataromera alcohol-free Spanish wines are today well positioned in China, especially in high-class restaurants and delicatessen shops. That is the first chapter, Benoit.
And maybe it's quite interesting, as you mentioned just now, with the case of Mataromera, because traditionally a lot of Chinese are drinking alcohol actually when they go out for business lunches and all that, but we're seeing increasingly that there is actually a portion of the population which prefers not to drink any baijiu or strong spirits, and I can see myself directly in my the surrounding area where a lot of parents are actually quite proud when they can say that their kids don't drink alcohol.
You are absolutely right. That is why, from the marketing point of view, we thought that it was very important not position Mataromera Group as just another Spanish player in the winery industry. And we realized that, as you mentioned perfectly, Benoit, that in the Chinese society, for the families and also for the business environment, they really care about healthy options, healthy ways to drink alcohol, but in this case, not giving them a direct, in this case, result. So the conclusion is very clear. If we want to position Mataromera Group as just one Spanish wine or another option in the market, the competition is really, really hard. If we go through the alcohol-free wines, the opportunity is amazing. Why? Because basically, because the demand is going small, small, and small. And Chinese people and the Chinese market, I perceive, so innovative initiatives as the one we are talking about right now. You are absolutely right, Benoit.
And actually, maybe before we conclude on that part, maybe it would be actually quite interesting to see from the perspective of our audience, actually, what has been their experience there. So with this, I'm just launching the first poll, actually, which appears on everyone's screen. And the first poll reads as follows. If you actually have adapted your products to satisfy your Chinese target consumers, and the four answers are A, yes, our products have been tailored to the Chinese market. B, we don't intend to do so as the investment is too high on the returns that we're expecting. C, no, because we precisely want to build our product and our image around the EU quality and the EU products and brands that we have. Or D, we are researching this issue at the moment in order to identify the needed adaptations. And I see that we've actually had quite a lot of answers. With this, I'm closing and sharing the results. And actually, it's quite impressive, Manu, because we're seeing that 70% of the users are currently researching how they can actually adapt their products to the Chinese market. And along behind that, there is the third answer that companies actually want to build on their European image and are not intending to adapt their products. The other answers are are ranking far behind. So two extremes, actually. It would be interesting to have your feedback and experience on that and your interpretation of the results.
Brilliant, brilliant. So firstly, I would like to congratulate the audience because they have chosen a very smart decision, basically for one reason. Chinese people, they are absolutely proud to be Chinese, for sure, as we do the European ones, but they know perfectly that the French wineries, the Italian wineries, the Spanish wineries, the Belgian wineries, amazing, all of them, they are all trying to sell and selling successfully the products in China. So they have the right and the power to choose whatever they want to drink. So in this case, let me give you another example, Benoit, and for the whole very nice audience. Yeah? In this case, when we talk about this wine, Ribera del Duero origin denomination, the Spanish one, the Chinese distributors tell us, 这个红酒我觉得非常好喝，可是这个又很厉害. The Chinese distributor says, oh, I love this wine, but we think that for the banquets, for what they call ganpei, which is dry cup, yeah? I think the wine is so strong, so we need something more smooth, something more like Tempranillo grapes that help us to do a ganpei and drink the whole cup. Obviously, if here you don't adapt the product using, in this case, Tempranillo grapes, which is the softer one, the one that Chinese people for banquets thinks is amazing, the good one, obviously, even if you have a lovely concept as free of alcohol wine, and you have a lovely brand name as Ribera del Duero origin denomination, from, in this case, from Spain, you will not get it. Why? Because you need still to adapt your product to the Chinese customer, and in this case, to the import distributors. So, honestly, congratulations to the audience, because we think that the right step is adapt the product to the Chinese customer needs, and obviously, I'm absolutely agree also with the other part of the audience that talk about feeling very proud to be European. In this case, we are not saying not to be European. And we are saying is feel free and feel proud to be European, but please adapt your product to the Chinese customer. That is exactly the point. Very good, Benoit, and very good.
And actually, I think you're going to expand a little bit about that. So with this, I'm just hiding the polls, and I'll let you go through with the next part of the presentation, Manu.
Brilliant. So let's talk about the second one, which is win face through the European brand names. In this case, what we will guys to show is Desigual, super colorful and successful company all around the world. It means the United States of America, it means obviously Europe, it means Asia, selling very well also in Japan, selling very well also in China. So let's go to the successful example. In this case, we talk about Desigual Barcelona fashion style for the Chinese little emperors and princes. The opportunity, Chinese middle high class, win face through European brand names. As you know well, in the Chinese culture, win fence, we say in Chinese, 有面子, it means basically win prestige, win social recognition. Yeah. So in this case, talking about the marketing decision, they go through colorful fashion collections, specifically thought for the Chinese white collars. The Chinese white collars, in this case, obviously talk about the business community, and their kids, which is for sure the little emperors and princes, for the summertime, weekends, and parties. That is the marketing decision. Talking about the result, we talk about Desigual. Shops have been successful opened in Hong Kong, Shanghai, Ningbo. We are preparing now the opening in Hangzhou and other major centers. Yeah? So here, the main idea, let's going to the point, is we suggest to capitalize on the image of your country, city, the country, the city of the region. For example, in China there is a good recognition of brands associated to Barcelona as being cosmopolitan and cool. Association to Spain, on the opposite, links more to tradition, folklore, etc. So Benoit, in this case, what I suggest as the audience, yeah, is talking about the lovely countries in the European Union that they are representing. In this case, what is the country image of every single country? What is the city image? What is the region image? In the case of our country, Spain, we honestly think that Spain is great. Spain is also obviously a very good brand name. And in that context, we think that Barcelona, as we mentioned, is recognized in China as being cool, cosmopolitan and cool. That is the successful example of Desigual Barcelona fashion branding. Going through the third point, which is the multi-channel marketing strategy, we would like to mention the Mango fashion company. And in this case, the opportunity is very clear. Top design fashion collections at affordable price. That's very important, affordable price. Why? Basically because the business community and the students community in China, purchase capacity is not necessarily the same one that we have in Europe. That is the first concept. Top design fashion collections at affordable price, the opportunity. Second point, the marketing decision. Mango used celebrities' image to build up its own brand in China and sustain the demand for its products sold both online and offline. The result, Mango has already established its franchise network in China. That is, Benoit, the third point. Going through the fourth point, which is mobile permission marketing, I think that graphic is very, very clear. If we go through the 2012, which is the last year, we see that we are talking about internet users already, 564 million internet users. But it's amazing to see that the mobile internet users, it is already last year on 490 million. The conclusion is very clear. If we want to reach the middle high class, which is traditionally the target for the European SMEs, we honestly think that it's very important to be in contact with your customer everywhere, every time. And that is obviously mobile marketing. That is the point. So in this case, we would like to show as a successful example, Pronovia's fashion group, again from Barcelona, and talking about the opportunity, we talk about Chinese middle high-class women that love European-style wedding dresses. That is the opportunity. Talking about the marketing decision, we thought, and we see that Pronovia's Barcelona uses WeChat, we call in China Weixin, as an effective loyalty management tool. Talking about the result, we must mention Pronovia's Barcelona wedding dress is also well positioned in China, maintaining high loyalty levels from customers through the use of WeChat. So here the conclusion is very clear. Let's use the mobile permission marketing tool and resource in order to do an excellent and a brilliant loyalty management to your customers in China, reaching and arriving to them every time, everywhere. That was and that is the message, Benoit. Going through the fifth point, which is China from China, let's talk about one concept that we think is extremely important, geo-marketing, which basically focus on marketing specifically, very niche marketing for just, as I mentioned now, for example, second and third tier cities in China. For example, Hangzhou, for example, Wenzhou, for example, Shenzhen, for example, Tianjin, with personalized message to the right audience at the right time. And here, I feel very proud to mention, as the successful example, 5G against Barcelona, the opportunity. Due to the frequent food safety, particular situations in China, especially in the dairy sector, the Chinese middle high class welcome import dairy products. The marketing decision in this case show us the following message. Amongst more than 100 products in their catalog, 5G opted for the introduction in Asia, Korea, Japan, and now starting in China, of just 3 star products, with local delivering everywhere in China in just 2 weeks. China from China. Obviously, if we compare that with the classical import decision that going from the European SMEs warehouse until arriving to the import distributor client in China warehouse, logistic time for the whole supply chain, something around 2 months. If you compare 2 months without problems with the customs with just 2 weeks, the marketing decision added value, I think, is so clear. The result, in this case, tells us about 4G reinforce his position sales and sales in Europe, US, Mexico, Arabic countries, and now also with their sales in China. So the message is very clear. Let's do an efficient and a successful marketing to China strategy, having in mind that those sales already done in US, in Europe, in Mexico, in the Arabic countries, for example, will be the excellent base to continue growing also with the sales in Asia, also with the sales in China. But we don't need to get sales just yesterday, not tomorrow, from yesterday and go very quickly trying to get hundreds and hundreds of containers from the first day. It doesn't work. Let's focus China as a medium long-term market. That is the message. Mm-hmm. Okay, so here you have one picture of the 5G team, yeah, in China, obviously working with super added value and expert cold distribution centers in China in order to offer a lovely and amazing China from China, in this case, delivering services. Talking about the sixth point, which is branding Chinese name, I would like to introduce you, in this case, Gao Le Gao. If you see the picture that you have in the screen, you will not see the original name of the brand name, which is Colacao, belonging to Nutrexpa. In this case, we are already talking about the Chinese name. So let's go to the point, following the same structure: opportunity, marketing decision, and result. Talking about the opportunity, we talk about a clear local demand also in China. Talking about the marketing decision, we see Gao Le Gao. 我们在中国不需要 Colacao, 我们需要 Gao Le Gao. What does it mean, Gao Le Gao? Gao means tall. Le means happy. And Gao, obviously again, means tall. So, Gao Le Gao, which sounds very similar to Colacao, the original brand name. In Spanish, Colacao, Gao Le Gao. that, as you can see, the phonetics is quite similar, basically is talking about tall, happy tall, which is basically the main values of the brand name. Give, middle high class, Chinese woman, chocolate with milk, which is basically the Colacao formula, to the Chinese clients, in this case, their little emperors and the princes, and they will become a lovely, tall, happy and tall baby. Okay? So Gao Le Gao, going again to the marketing decision, has been the official sponsor of the Chinese gymnastics Olympic team, getting and achieving, in this case, an amazing brand awareness and brand name recognition for sure. Talking about the results, the Spanish brand name Colacao, as we mentioned before, Gao Le Gao, is now delivered to the burgeoning, to the coming up, to the getting bigger and bigger middle and high Chinese class. That is the result.
I have a quick question here, Manu, because we're getting some questions on that. When you're in China and some of the participants in the audience are traveling every once in a while in China, but some others maybe have never been here, you can really see around you as you're walking through the cities and the supermarkets that some of the trademarks have been translated, and whilst on the opposite, some of them are just typically using their original Latin name. Is there a particular, I mean, typically my impression is that it's for more luxurious products, they keep the original name, whereas you see that much less to consumers product, but it'd be interesting to have your impression on that and your experience, especially as we're getting already some questions on this.
Lovely, Benoit. Let me answer you with a very clear sentence. If you, as European netizen, you go to the offline supermarket in, for example, Paris, London, Rome, Barcelona, and you are looking for a very exotic and a very amazing and successful yogurt, yeah? And in this case, you have on the field brand name 1 in Italy, speaking Chinese, speaking Italian, sorry. Brand name 2 in Italy, speaking Italian. Brand name 3 in Italy, speaking Italian too. And suddenly, for the Italian customers, in this case, potential customers, brand name 4, speaking Chinese. My question is, does the Chinese language, in this case, help the European, in this case, Italian potential customers, know and understand the value of the brand name being written in Chinese? Does the Chinese language, in this case, helps the Italian potential customers well understand the main values of that new and theoretically amazing yogurt? The answer, I think, is absolutely clear, and it is no. So in China, it's exactly the same. If you are talking about the Maslow pyramid, and you are going basically to the, what we call basic needs, satisfy the basic needs, as food and beverage, for example, if you want to have a nice dialogue with your client, mass market, we are talking about mass market, and your brand name is in Italian, in French, in Spanish, or in English, probably that middle, low-class customer that don't have for sure an amazing, and necessarily an amazing French, Italian, Spanish, or English level, don't be written in Chinese, will be also a problem for them. That is why we recommend, and now I go to the conclusion, when we talk about the Maslow pyramid, those brand names that are focused in the middle part of the pyramid, going down for social needs, for security needs, obviously we recommend to translate the brand name in order to give to the Chinese customers a language barrier. But when we go down through the Maslow pyramid and we are going through the social recognition, prestiges, and status, obviously here the recommendation is just the opposite. Don't translate the brand name. Use the French one, the Italian one, the British one, the Spanish one, and all the European Union countries' original brand name one, not in Chinese, because in that case, by international brand names will give them face. So, translate the conclusion. Maslow pyramid, from the middle, down, through basic needs, very convenient, translate the brand name. When you go Maslow pyramid through the social recognition, prestige, and status, very important to keep the original brand. That is the answer, Benoit.
Thank you very much for that.
Okay, perfect. So let's go through the next point, which is Minimax psychological prices in China. Here, I'm very glad to show you the also successful example of, we call in China, Dia Tian Tian. In this case, in the European languages, Dia supermarkets, yeah? So let's talk about the opportunity. The opportunity is also very clear. Selling premium imported products at an, again, affordable price. Marketing decision, geo-marketing, focus just in Beijing and Shanghai, offering high-quality European quality imported products at a winning price position. The result, more than 600 Dia supermarkets already established between Beijing and Shanghai and continue growing. So in this case, what we think is very important to well analyze what is the real purchase capacity of every single potential customer in China. Let me give you, for the whole audience, 3 examples. At the Chinese university, those Chinese students that are just graduate from a very nice university in China, the first salary that they get is something between 3,000 and 4,000 renminbis every month. If we translate that to euros, it goes around 350 euros. Obviously, when this person do a master and they have 5-6 years working experience, their salary can go very quickly and quite easy way to 7,000, 8,000 renminbis. But we are still talking about 800, not even arriving to 900 euros. For that customer, that could be considered, especially when they are in the 8,000, 9,000 renminbis per month, middle class, is very important, the price position. Why? Because the same profile in Europe, the salary probably will be, and let me be diplomatic here, different salary every month. So, mini-max psychological prices in China. Very important to well analyze what is the minimum price we can offer to them, what is the maximum price we can offer to the potential customer in China. And here, talking about psychological prices in China, it's very important to follow the millionaire 1,000 years history of China. So, in this case, when we talk about psychological prices, in China, we have one concept to this, fazang, which means progress. And when we go to the numbers, is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, fazang. So the pronunciation of number 8, which is pa, is quite similar to fazang the fa. It means that for Chinese people, for our Chinese friends, 8 means fortune. And the example that you have seen, you can see in the screen, which is in this case at Tianjin, very luxury, a residential area. If you see, the call center number is 8788888. Beijing Olympics Games was on the 2008 year. Which month? August, which is number 8. We see the 8th of August. It's still number 8. What time? 8 o'clock. Everything goes around 8. So in this case, the message is very clear. You have to choose the right price following the mini-max psychological prices in China mentioned concept. Is very important. Use on a very efficient way the numbers following the Chinese psychology and the Chinese history and Chinese millionaire culture. 8, it means fortune. That is the message.
Here, I'd like to interrupt Manu. I've got questions which are coming in, and I think there are two questions that are quite relevant. On your slide just before about the minimax prices, the question is what would be your advice about how to actually go about the research on market prices? What would be the best and most efficient way for a company to actually do some quick market research to identify the right price? Are there any ways to bypass some of the more extensive and time-consuming and also expensive researchers, or is this really the only way to go?
Very good questions for the audience. So, dear audience, thank you very much for that. Let's go to the answer. The first thing we strongly recommend is, in terms of marketing to China, be working in China. It means it's very important, if you want to know the right price for the product in China, being already in Beijing, Shanghai, Guangzhou, that are normally with Hong Kong, the main cities, but being very important also going to Wenzhou, Hangzhou, Ningbo, Tianjin, Shenzhen, Sichuan, Chengdu, so the second and third tiers, my recommendation is go directly to the channel. Go with the marketing people to the channel and do a benchmark analysis in the same channel. So you will find there the companies that are competing for the same niche of the market as the European Union SMEs, and you will realize there the real price that they are offering offline. And if you go through the online channel, which is Taobao, Tmall, which is the equivalent to eBay and Amazon.com in China, you will be able to check the prices, also the real one, the ones that they are selling at the same time. That is the first recommendation. The second recommendation, dear audience, is go directly with your samples and visit the main import distributors players in China. And having with them one dialogue, they will be very clear and they will tell you, 你好，好朋友，我觉得这个产品有好，可是这个也还有贵点。The Chinese distributor will tell you, oh, I think it's a very nice brand name. I congratulate you for being so famous in Europe, but the price is still some high. So we think that the second suggestion or recommendation is being always in China, from China, be directly talking with the main import distributors and check with them what they really think about the product, about the brand name, about the price position. And the third recommendation, and here I'm very proud, absolutely proud, to recommend also the different networks of Chamber of Commerce of the European Union. For example, the Spanish Chamber of Commerce. I recommend go through the trade fairs and the missions that the European Chamber of Commerce do for every single industry. For example, in the food and beverage, Cial as one of the main fairs, and being there on that fair and do also a very strict and a very professional benchmark analysis, going through the different stands and seeing directly what is the price position for each option. And finally, one very important recommendation. European Union Small Medium Enterprise Beijing Center. That is, dear audience, the right place. You will find everything here with Christian, Benoit, Nico, and the whole team. And obviously I feel very proud to be part also of that team. So that's basically, Benoit, the answer to your question.
Thank you. And then the second question was on the next slide about psychological, the psychological dimension of prices and numbers in China. And the question is whether this actually is applicable and relevant in all sectors and industries, or if it's typically more relevant in particular sectors in your experience.
Exactly. With my more than 12 years living and working in China on real marketing plans for the Chinese market, it tell me three things. First thing, mass market. For example, food and beverage. For example, telecommunications. Here is very, very important the psychological prices. If you go to the Chinese people and you invite them to one mobile phone, not with the number 8, with just the opposite, which is number 4, 4, which means death. If you invite in mass market to the Chinese people to buy one mobile phone, which is 1444444, which is dead, I can tell you for sure, Benoit, that no one will buy it. So number 8, fortune, perfect, but be careful because the opposite one is the number 4. So if you go to food and beverage and you do an amazing marketing campaign, offering an amazing product, already tested with an amazing market research, and your price position is 44.44 renminbis, dear Benoit, dear audience, probably no one will buy it. So food and beverage, for sure, is the first example. When we go to the fashion industry, exactly the same. When we go directly to the telecommunication industry, exactly the same. If you have a call center and you invite your clients to call the call center and the call center is 1444444, obviously will be exactly the same. And for example, if you have a lovely hotel coming from, in this case, the amazing country of France or Belgium, and you offer a super price, a special price for a very luxury room, and the price is 4,444 renminbis, I think that the information is very clear. That is business to consumer. When we go to business, and we are selling machines, we are selling engineering prices, obviously, psychological prices is not at all as important as it is in the mass market or the B2C. That is the answer, dear Benoit.
Thank you, Manuel. Actually, as you're talking about numbers, we're actually getting to your 8th number now, I think, on the marketing.
Exactly, and nothing is casualty. If we have choose 8 marketing to China trends, it's because we feel very proud to be very good friend of China. That's why we have choose this number 2. So let's go, as you mentioned perfectly, Benoit, to the 8th point, Chinese customer green experience. In this case, I feel very proud to show the example of Sierra de Cazorla, in this case coming from Spain. Benoit, please, and dear audience, I would like to mention that today we have been talking about a Spanish successful experience, but as a European netizen, I feel very proud to be European, and I think that in all the European Union are amazing successful examples. So for the next Marketing to China webinars, obviously we will mention also French, Italian, British, Belgium, German, amazing successful examples. So having in mind that today is just the overview Marketing to China webinar, I am very glad to say that in the next Marketing to China webinars we will comment also amazing European Union examples. Say that. Let's go to the example, successful example. Sierra de Cazorla water, unique selling proposition, health, health and health. The opportunity. Today, China environment condition facilitate the penetration of healthy European imported products. The marketing decision, top quality healthy water with a dedicated packaging, as we will see in the picture in the next slide, specific for the Chinese market. The result, 1 million euros sales during the first year. Obviously, dear audience, in order to arrive to this point, it has been also very important have a very Chinese looking packaging as the one that you can see in this picture. So, the conclusion is very clear. The environment that we find in China is, as a lovely country and an amazing country, excellent on every single sense, but when we talk about the meteorological conditions, the environment is not exactly as the one that we could find in other cities, for being diplomatic. So, here we think that is an amazing opportunity to sell safety and healthy European products. For example, powder milk. For example, milk. For example, water. Here is the opportunity. Talking about the 8th point, which is Chinese customer green experience.
I think here it's actually worth also mentioning, as you've already mentioned, Manu, that packaging is always more important in China than you ever think it is in your traditional markets. Packaging is really, well, I've always been impressed about how much packaging there is and how much Chinese buyers are caring about how products are being presented. And I think this is a very interesting case, and I think this is something that we're really seeing across the board when it comes to consumer goods.
Absolutely agree, dear Benoit. And I will say in the same direction that you have excellent mention now, that the competitors, the Asian competitors, for example, the Korean one, the Chinese one, knowing perfectly how important is the packaging, they are doing a lovely and amazing packaging design decisions. So here, I think that we, European business people, we have a very stylish, we have a very elegant European essence, a European identity, and the only thing we need to do is Chinese face. Chinese looking, for example, in this case, for the mass market products, just getting some kind of empathy with the Chinese customer using, for example, the lovely Chinese-style flowers that you can see in the Sierra de Cazorla packaging one. That is exactly the idea. Very good, Benoit. You are absolutely right.
Thank you very much, Manu. So, if you would summarize, because we've gone quite quickly through quite a lot of points in today's webinar, but if you would have really to summarize some of the particular tips of the day for today's audience, what would they be?
Very good. Firstly, I'm very proud to be today here doing the first Market in China webinar as the overview, and I'm very, very proud to be with the whole European Union Small Medium Enterprise Beijing Center. Thank you very much for that, Benoit, Chris, Nico, and the whole team. Secondly, thank you very much, dear audience, for having the possibility to share with you that more than 12 years experience in marketing to China. Based on that, which is very important to be very thanks to that, let's go to the tips of the day. First one, win phase through European brand names. As we have said, what Chinese middle high class European companies' traditional target values the most is social recognition obtained through the consumption of European brand names. Therefore, it is essential to destine the appropriate resources to your marketing strategy in China. That is the first point. Second point, as we have mentioned, mobile permission marketing. Nowadays, China has 718 million internet users and 1.1 billion mobile phones, signifying that European brands can put their personalized, niched value propositions forward to the Chinese target. As we mentioned before, anytime and anywhere. Being today Weixin, that's the way we call here in China, Weixin, we can say in English, WeChat, the key platform. Number two, let's go to the number 3 tips of the day. Branding Chinese name. Delivering your marketing message, including brand name and communication support, in Chinese will be certainly help the local consumers understand your company values and the value proposition created specifically for them. As we have mentioned, very clear, when we go to the Maslow pyramid to mass market, for example, ice creams, for example, yogurts, for example, cookies, very convenient. When we go up through social recognition, as we have said, normally the best thing is to consider and to keep the French one, the Italian one, the Belgian one, the British one, and the lovely European Union, each country one. Right. Fourth one and the last one, multi-channel marketing strategy. Communication process, sales, and Chinese customer loyalty management are conducted both offline, for example, through the sales force in China, as we have mentioned before, in China, merchandising, advertisement, opinion leaders, and second one, online. Chinese language website, very, very important. SEM and CO, as you know well, is search engine marketing and search engine optimization strategies. Being Baidu, which is the Chinese Google, yeah, if we can mention like that, the key player on the Chinese social network, in essence, Sina Weibo, that we call that way in Europe. Yeah, it's a lovely platform, an amazing platform, a leader platform, mixing the best thing of Facebook and Twitter. All apps up in the mind of the Chinese target. Those are, dear audience, today tips of the day.
Thank you, Manu. I think that's well summarizing a lot of points that a lot of companies have to take back and think about when they are developing their marketing strategy in China. And actually, we've seen from the first poll already that a lot of companies are already actually thinking of adapting their products to the Chinese market. So they're already quite aware of the necessity of adapting to the market. Lots of food for thought, and actually, as we've mentioned, this overview webinar was compacting a lot of information, and it was difficult to go into more details in most of them. But I think what would be interesting also, and this is why I'm launching our second poll, is to try to see which actually which aspect of the marketing mix is the most important concern or aspect that companies would like to see developed in the EU SME Centre's products and services. So the answers being A, product, how to adapt your product to the consumers and customers' needs. B, the price, so how to define the correct price position. C, the place, i.e. how to elaborate a multi-channel marketing strategy. Or D, the question of promotion, meaning how to actually develop and obtain a sound brand position on the Chinese market. And the answers are gradually coming in, and actually it's there is quite a solid mix between the different answers, a very good share amongst all of them. Well, actually, I'm now seeing that some of them are actually coming out more than the others. So with this, I'm sharing the answers. It's about 40% which are more concerned about the adaptation of the product, about a third on the question of the distribution channels and how to develop a logistical strategy here, and then more or less the same about the question of price and promotion. But clearly the place and the product are the largest and the biggest concern of today's audience. Is this a little bit in line with what you had expected, or is that very typical and very well linked to the specific industries and sectors that might be participating today, or is that also in your experience that a lot of the companies and SMEs in particular are putting more emphasis on the product and the location?
Yeah, very good, Benoit. I think it's very important that based on today's overview Marketing to China webinar, we will be very proud to do a specific webinar just for those topics that the European audience consider more interesting. We are absolutely ready. Today we have the first overview, and we will go through the point analyzing in the next Marketing to China webinars those concepts more suitable for the Chinese market. Benoit, I would like to mention you one Chinese proverb that I love it, which is 草毛花虎, that basically talks, and dear audience, about do a picture of a lovely European cat as the first step, and based on that, do an even better, an amazing draw, artistic piece of an amazing Chinese tiger. So I think that 草毛花虎 Chinese proverb, what is saying us is that being very proud to be European, which is the 草毛, which is the picture of the European cat, if we get Chinese face, if we adapt the product as we are seeing to the Chinese market needs, we can pass from an amazing European style, very elegant cat to an also amazing, elegant, but very Chinese looking, very convenient looking Chinese powerful tiger. 草毛花虎. That is the proverb that we have prepared for today's first overview webinar.
Okay, thank you very much. I think that's a very nice idiom to finish today's webinar on. There is actually just a little bit more time, dear Manuel, for some of the questions. We've received a few questions, but we will only have time, unfortunately, to address maybe a couple of these questions.
Perfect.
One of the questions is specifically asking, well, we talked a little bit about online marketing. We talked about mobile marketing also, noting that there's more than 1.1 billion mobile phone users in China, an amazing potential to actually reach out through a mobile phone marketing strategy or mobile marketing strategy. And one of the questions which is related to that, well, two questions if I may. The first one is, what is your recommendation there, looking at the possible trends? Is that going to continue? Are people going to have a lot more smartphones than they do now? And the second question, so basically the question being that can you focus primarily when it comes to promotion on mobile marketing? And the second question is, when it comes to social media in particular, what would be the price of this kind of implementation when you're talking about one tool, for example, Sina Weibo?
Very good, very good. The answer is, for the first one, Chinese people, middle high class customers, when they go to a super fashion clothing shop, the first thing they do is they get their smartphone, they look for the QR code, and in this case they are absolutely happy to entrance the Chinese Twitter profile of this company. That is the first thing they will do. But not only for fashion, also for food and beverage. They will see the packaging and they will look for the QR code that, as you know perfectly, if you focus with the smartphone, for example, an iPhone 5, with just one click, you are already surfing on the website of the company, on the Sina Weibo, which is the Chinese Twitter, and mix it with Facebook profile, or even more focused to loyalty management, Weixin, as we mentioned before. So the first thing is, let's go mobile. If you are not using mobile phone marketing tools, you are not helping the customer to know more about your brand name every time and everywhere. So here today it is innovate. We are here for that, for be successful and for be innovated. But in the future will not be innovated. You will be, honestly, probably a little bit, for be diplomatic, out of the market. So don't wait few years to everybody to be using mobile marketing. Let's do it now, because now it is very well appreciated by the customer. That is the first point. The second point, talking about Sina Weibo, which is an amazing platform, an amazing player, having a lovely, a nice, very nice amnesty, friendship, and relationship with them. To say that as the main platform for everybody, the most important thing is convert the Chinese customer as the best and the most important ambassador of your brand. It is not time anymore for say, we are a lovely European Union SMEs company and we are the best one in the industry. Everybody, almost everybody is saying now, is that now, dear audience, dear Benoit, it's time for the Chinese customer to say that. Why? Because in the Chinese culture, if one person recommends directly to another person that this brand is the most suitable one, is the best one, this subjective, this personal recommendation has quite more value than 100 individual and subjective marketing messages coming from the SMEs, the European SMEs. So let's go mobile because we need it in order to innovate today, in order to don't be out of the market in the near future. And finally, the platform on social network is Sina Weibo. That's the way we call in China, Sina Weibo in English. That is the point. But for sure, Benoit, I think it will be lovely to focus the next Marketing to China webinars, as you have said, and based on that overview, to go very deeply and very detailed and give very detailed information to the audience about each point. Exactly.
And I'd like to remind also the audience that for digital marketing strategy and social media landscape in China, there's also a few documents you can relate to on the website of the EU SME Centre, including a number of webinars we've done in the past on digital marketing. Well, there's actually a few more questions, but I think unfortunately, as we've gone a little bit over time, that this is all what we've have time for during today's webinar. Manu, thanks a lot for sharing your experience with our audience today. I think this is quite a lot of food for thought, and certainly quite a few recommendations that the audience can take back with them and try to implement as they're developing their marketing mix strategy in China. So thank you.
You're welcome, and I'm very honored to be today sharing that marketing China experience with a so amazing and interesting European Union small and medium enterprise SMEs. Thank you very much to you, Benoit, and everybody.
And then I'd like, as you say, I'd like to also thank the audience for their participation to today's webinar and for the active asking of questions to today's webinar. We're going to continue to try to answer as many of your questions outside of this webinar, and I'd like to remind you about all the different channels that you can use to reach out to the EU SME Centre through the website, in particular euSMEcentre.org.cn, as well as the social media we're using extensively in Europe with LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. So thanks a lot. I'd like to also remind you about the short survey that you'll have just after the webinar. This is actually helping us a lot in improving the webinar series, as well as to actually get more feedback for some of the other products that we're developing. So with this, thank you, Manu. Thank you to everyone, and see you next time at our next webinar. Thank you, and
thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Until soon then. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.